Hey there, how you doing? This is a message for Brian, Nico, Dustin and Mike. So I'm Paul Popplewell, and I was in 15 Million Mirrors, Black Mirror. Brian, Nico, Dustin, Mike, it's Paul again. Listen, I just want to apologise. The sound quality on that video I did you was terrible. I was out hiking. I'm now in my little camper van thing. We shot 15 Million Merits a million years ago, but it was great fun. It was great to be a part of it, and it's been amazing to watch it kind of go stratospheric, and Netflix pick it up, and you know, all these Hollywood stars are directing and starring in it now. Not that the British cast were amazing, you know, absolute stellar, the creme de la creme of some of the top British artists, and me. But it was good fun. Good luck with the podcast, and keep up the good work, and don't go out there.
They've conquered the big screen. Now, get ready for the spin-off sure to send chills down your spine. It's Nico, Brian, Mike, and Dustin in Don't Go Out There, the series.
Welcome back, everybody, to DGOT, the series. We really appreciate y'all listening. We hope y'all have been enjoying these series reviews. I know we have. It's been a lot of fun. Just want to give a quick shout out to our website, don'tgoouthere.com. Everything about our podcast is on the website. All of our episodes and interviews, if you want to check those out. We've done some incredible interviews in the past. Go check them out there in a specific tab by themselves, so you don't have to scroll through hundreds of episodes on Apple or Spotify, etc. We also have our store if you want to grab a shirt, a mouse pad, a hat, all that good stuff. We'd love to see your pictures, you know, rep your favorite podcast. And Shan's Etsy page is also attached if you want to grab a tumbler. All of our social media links are on there as well. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. Like us, subscribe us, follow us, all that good stuff. And the last thing I want to shout out on our website is our Patreon. We call it Blood Donors. We have the traditional monthly reoccurring kind. If you want to support us, help us pay the bills, as we say. Or if there's a movie you want us to review, that option is available as well. Just check out our website, don'tgoouthere.com. Also, if you haven't noticed, we've recently joined the Believe Network. So there's some ads on our program now. But if you want ad-free content, go check us out on Blood Donors. The ad-free episodes will be available there. We appreciate your support. We concluded Dexter Season 1 last week. That was Dustin's pick. So we're starting with Brian's second choice, and he chose... Go ahead, brother. I'll let you announce it.
I picked Black Mirror. I picked 10 episodes of Black Mirror. I did it in general because I, as a whole, enjoy most of the episodes. Now, I did have a problem narrowing them down to just 10 and did not go with 10 that I liked. I tried to mix them with audience scores and with rankings, and got a few opinions from some other people as well, you know, to come down to these 10. But these aren't necessarily 10 that I loved. In fact, while I did like White Christmas a ton, I did not love Beyond the Sea at all. I think, like we mentioned in our Ex Machina review, these do have a lot in common with A24 movies in the sense where they almost all build up to some sort of twist ending, and that ending either hits or it doesn't with you. It's all of that even started with The Twilight Zone. So, you know, that was kind of the same thing. It was the build up towards whatever twist at The Twilight Zone was going to be, and you either like it or you don't. So that's why I went with Black Mirror.
Well, in prep for doing Black Mirror, I did watch a few episodes the other night. I liked all of them that I watched. I mean, obviously I like some better than the others. You should have picked the pig fucking episode. That episode was great. The episode was great. Dude, it was tense. It was fun.
Did you know that Netflix purposely, when they first came out with this, would not default you to episode 1, season 1? They wanted you to watch a different one first because there was that first one was so crazy. A lot of people weren't watching them.
Then why didn't they just make another episode 1?
Well, I think once they realized that, there's an issue, then they did that as a default. It was crazy.
Okay. I like that episode. But I'll just get started with the 2 episodes tonight. I like both of them. The first one we're doing, was it White Christmas? I can't remember the exact name of it. I don't have my notes pulled up yet.
White Christmas.
I think it's good, but I do think it's a little slow. But I like the second episode a lot better. Beyond the Sea, great acting. But I'll touch on that when we get to it. I liked both episodes though.
That tracks. That we have opposite likes on that.
I figured you'd like it. Josh Hartnett, Aaron Paul. I mean, it was good.
I mean, we'll talk about it.
I didn't love either episode, but I didn't hate them.
Yeah.
So my thing with this show, I've never seen any Black Mirror before you picked this. It's something that I've got a lot of friends have told me about. I need to watch it. I've seen a lot of people hyping it up online over the years. I just never got around to it. And I think the fact that it was an anthology series kind of like put me off. It's the reason I wasn't in a hurry to. I think that in my mind, it was a roadblock. But I watched, unlike Nico, I didn't watch any other episodes. The only 2 episodes I've seen are the 2 we're covering tonight. I did like the second one more than the first. So I agree. That was you, Nico, right? That said that?
Yeah.
So the reason I'm conflicted. Do I tell you why I didn't like it now or just save it? To me, I'll give you a little bit of it. To me, these episodes are damn near the length of a movie, especially the second one for sure is like 5 minutes shorter than Saint Maud, which we're going to review. They needed to be feature films. There wasn't enough fleshing out of things or explanations of things to satisfy me as far as making everything, like tying everything together. The second episode I didn't have the same issues with it. I think the first episode, White Christmas, they spent a lot of time in this backstory, in this flashback, in this build, and then all the catching us up to speed on what's actually happening in the now kind of felt a little rushed. The second one, they didn't waste as much time. Like, there was still that slow, like us figuring out what's happening. And I get that that's the formula for this show. They're going to do a lot of building, and then it's all going to come together at the very end. Maybe that's the issue. Like, I don't know, but there was just something that didn't click for me. I think the way they're shot is great. There's some really good cinematography. There's some great camera shots. The lighting, the score, the acting is all great. It's just I think that if they were full-length movies and we got maybe 15 to 20 minutes extra on each one to paint the picture, then I think I would have appreciated it more, if that makes any sense.
Well, the good thing is I feel like that, and I may be wrong at the end. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like by the end of this, you'll at least have some of them. I feel like I picked a good diversity of episodes. So maybe someone will click with you.
Oh, and one more thing that kind of bothered me is I don't know what the budget was on any of these because Netflix doesn't release their budget. They don't release their money aspects of it. But some of the CG looked pretty bad. It just didn't look the best. But we'll get into that. Like in the second episode when he picks up his hand, quote unquote hand, the replica hand, like you could tell it was digitally imposed. And so that stood out to me.
I think what kept me invested in episode 1, White Christmas, is I think John Hamm was really good. Like he was a star. Mm-hmm. He was he had me invested the whole time. And I'm not too familiar with his game, but I think he did great throughout the whole episode. And kind of like, at the end of Pearl with the monologue, like if you don't like this movie, you don't think she's good, like you're going to lock out quick. But John Hamm, he kept me invested the whole time, and he kept me in it enough to where I wasn't bored. But I did feel like it drug a little bit, but I still liked it.
Yeah, so that's what I meant. Like John Hamm was fantastic. The acting is great, and this is not taken away from him. It's just, I guess in my mind, I'm trying to piece together like, what does any of this have to do with what we're doing right now? And so while he was captivating, and his partner, I don't know that actor's name. I'm sorry. But while it was fascinating dynamic, and the concepts for both these episodes, let me get that out of the way. Concepts are great. Like it's not stories we've seen time in, time out. And I've heard that's the case with this show as a whole, is it's, full of fresh ideas. Love that. But I think the route that they took to get to the destination in this one is they took the scenic route for sure.
I think it's the second part of
That's all.
episode 1 that really kind of drags the most for me. Like the Greta or the cookie one, like that one. I mean, it was cool, but I'm excited to talk about it. You ready to start, Brian? He's doing scene by scene tonight.
Yep, I'm doing scene by scene. So let's do it here. And I think his name's I think Charlie Booker. Charlie Brooker is the main writer in on Black Mirror, and he's got such a hostile relationship, I think, with Netflix after all these years. It's like that's why I'm sure they would want new episodes all the time. Blah blah blah. That's why we have like a 3-episode season, and then like a 4-episode season 10 years later, and it's just he does what he wants. He's like the dude who writes True Detective. I can't think of his name. He does what he wants. All right, here we go. White Christmas, season 2, episode 4. We open up emerging from a frozen tundra outside into a room with a man who we find out later is Joe Potter, lying on his bed in his room. We hear Dustin's favorite Christmas music emerging from the kitchen, to which Joe enters and shuts off the radio. There, we encounter Matt Trent, who is making Christmas lunch. We find out via Matt that the two have lived together for 5 years, but have barely spoken, and Matt is practically begging him to have any sort of conversation at this point. Matt decides he is going to tell Joe how he ended up in the cabin and begins to tell his story of him leading an online community of horny nerds who watch each other seduce women through something called Z-Eyes, implants that transmit the user's vision and hearing to everyone on the call or lobby. We meet one of the members, Harry, who is getting ready to crash an office Christmas party because there's a dynamic to a Christmas work party, as we learn, where the women are ready to let their hair down and make for the best opportunities. Harry grabs a beer as a prop and spots Jennifer across the bar as someone he would like to pursue. With the help of coaching and some technical assistance from Matt, is able to convince an already talking trio he's supposed to belong there. After a trip to the urinal, Harry spots Jennifer sitting alone, and he approaches to shoot his shot once and for all. The two make some small talk, and all seems to be going well until Jennifer takes a break for the loo. We cut back to Matt continuing to tell the story to Joe, telling him not to be so negative. He hasn't finished the story yet. Maybe he comes down her chimney.
All right, I'm excited to talk about this and start a new series. I don't have a ton of notes. I hate to steal Mike's line, but first watch, first notes, brothers. Awkward start with Matt and Potter. You can feel a lot of tension between the two men. And I'm just curious, like, what's going to come of this episode? Because, Brian, like, I'm sure you can attest to this. When you're watching a Black Mirror episode, you know some Black Mirror shit's going to happen. So you know something's going to hit the fan eventually. I appreciate Matt giving Harry fashion pointers and tips on how to fit in and pick up ladies. We got English Hitch over here. Shout out to him. I can't lie. Having a guy coaching you through all this is pretty dope. You know, a lot of guys are socially awkward. You know, they're good guys. They just don't know how to talk to women. That might be a good thing for some guys. And speaking of streaming, good Lord, I'm jealous of whatever Wi-Fi or mobile data these guys are using. We need that over here at the Don't Go Out There podcast. I think I'm lagging and not a little bit, honestly. Matt tells Harry to cuss, and he goes full Rob Zombie and Samuel L. Jackson within the first sentence, dropping every F-bomb and shit imaginable. Sheesh. I'm proud of Harry sticking to the script even though he's being coached. It will be easy for a guy who has low confidence to walk off or give up and just not trust the process, so I like that Harry stuck it out. As this set of scenes ends, I'm not sure what to process yet, but my man Harry is doing well with his dream girl at the party, and the vibe is very awkward with Matt and Potter.
All right, so, hey, it's Don Draper. Nice. Second of all, Brian, fuck Christmas music. Don't ever say that again. I hate Christmas music so much. But anyway, it's a job, not a jail. Often one and the same thing. God, I felt that. That's a fire line. Loved it. This is a really interesting concept with the eye link. I'd hate for someone to be connected to my eyes and see some of the wildebeest I've taken home, though. Jesus. Also, imagine if Hitch could have utilized this technology. God, his business would be booming. And then the wildling. She was not amused at the horse story. Shout out to Asha, though. I know she put it on Jon Snow pretty good back in the day, and Nico gets those references. But overall, it's a very interesting open, I think. Like, it's a lot of development, but I have no idea what to expect. Like, what does this have to do with the two guys being in the cabin? Stay tuned, I guess.
All right. While Jennifer is still gone to the bathroom /loo, Harry talks to Matt and the rest of the guys through the ocular implant, and Jennifer emerges from the bathroom and misinterprets Harry's communication with the group for schizophrenia or hallucinations, similar to, we find out later, her own. She immediately presses the situation and invites him to her house, kissing him immediately and furthering the assumption Harry is about to get laid. Joe asks Matt if he watched, to which Matt immediately denies, telling us and basically showing us as an audience that we have an unreliable narrator here. As we are shown, he did in fact watch. Back at her apartment, he sits on the bed and Jennifer gives him a sip of her very tainted drink. After the sip, she confesses that she hears voices too, is off her medication, and is now in the midst of a murder-suicide. Joe tells Matt that he didn't find out about it until the next day on a newscast, but we're shown Joe panicking and trying to get rid of all the electronic evidence in the entire situation. While trying to stay quiet in his house, he makes more noise than a fucking marching band and is caught by his wife, Claire. After an argument, we're shown that Claire had in fact blocked Matt, which consists of not being able to hear or see or speak to the person, and instead you only see a dim blur where their body is supposed to be. Matt explains that everyone in the period has Z eyes put in, and that makes these sort of things possible. He goes on to explain that Claire left him and took their daughter, stranding him in the cabin. Matt then proceeds to start to tell Joe about his real job, but says he will start to describe his day at work and for Joe to stop him when he's guessed it. We then enter what looks like a procedure room where we meet Greta, who we think at first we can hear her inner thoughts, but as she's put under anesthesia, we hear the procedure, hearing the doctor's voice say that they're preparing to extract what is called a cookie and is then placed inside an egg-shaped container.
This guy Harry is a fucking idiot with zero awareness on the Madden scale. He's talking to his coach out loud in the wide open, like he's got to look like a crazy guy. Well, I'm mind blown. Jennifer kisses him and invites him to her place. This man is cooking with fish grease over here. I did not see that coming. Is that the plot twist for the whole show? When Jennifer says, I need you in the bed, I can't lie. I'm starting to get a weird feeling this is too good to be true for old Harry. And I want to clarify here. I think this pretty much goes without saying, but I do want to clarify that I think it's a cool idea to have a guy coach socially awkward guys through like dating, social experiments. But I do not condone watching unconsenting people with audiences, needless to say. And it looks like I was right. Harry can't stop coughing after a drink of whatever this concoction is, and his dream girl is killing him. This went from a dream come true to a goddamn Nightmare on Elm Street real quick. Matt pisses down his leg and freezes up when his wife confronts him when he's walking down the hall. How does this guy not have a built-in excuse whipped up for what he's doing, though, just in case this happens?
Right.
This is an interesting premise, blocking someone in real life. This is a feature that I think would go crazy in reality. Silence can be oppressive. You think weird shit in a vacuum. Matt, that is a bar, my friend. I'm sure all of us guys can relate to when you're alone with your thoughts. It can be a scary thing. I've seen a few episodes so far, and I'm really impressed with the color and sets. I wanted to mention that at the beginning, Brian. Black Mirror always does a great job with their sets. This might be the whitest room I've ever seen. It's amazing how bright a white room can look. Yeah. And damn, Greta, that toast looked fine to me. You a picky-ass eater, ain't you? This is a trippy, out-of-body experience, and that's another thing this show does well as well.
See, I thought, oh, God, major boner killer when she sees him talking to himself. But she doesn't mind, apparently. Good for you, kid. But the pink neon lights in her apartment, run. That's the only advice I can give you. You walk in and see that, run. Trust me. But then she starts talking, they can fucking wait. Fuck them. That's troubling dialogue. Who's the they she's referring to? And then see, I knew he should have ran when he saw the neon lights. A real one like me would have never been poisoned here. Like, I've learned through trial and error what the red flags in a woman's apartment are. The block feature that his wife did, that would be so valuable in real life. There's so many fucking people I would block. It was funny that Potter guessed Matt's job was marketing, considering I called him Don Draper earlier. He was a marketer in Mad Men. Great show.
Yeah.
You know, honestly, I still don't really know how this ties together. And I got to be honest, like, I'm losing a little faith at this point in the episode that it'll have a good payoff, because it's just a bunch of stuff happening. It's not really cohesive to me, but I'm hopeful. We'll see.
We open with Matt tapping on his headset and discover that he is in fact communicating with the cookie inside the egg-shaped container. He explains to the cookie that she is in fact a digital clone of Greta, and he works for a company that takes these cookies and turns them into personal assistants. He gives it a simulated body, but it continues to resist the idea of being a personal assistant / slave. As form of punishment, Matt starts a simulation that causes the cookie to feel like a period of time has passed, in this case, 3 weeks, but in real time was really only a few seconds. Cookie Greta, however, is still not fully on board, and Matt then cranks the time up to 6 months, effectively breaking the cookie into submission. We're then shown the cookie slave personal assistant in action during a daily routine for real Greta, consisting of cooking toast, coffee, playing music, moving blinds, series of just total daily events. Back at the cabin, Joe interjects his opinion that the idea of the cookie was and is essentially slavery, to which Matt rebuttals with the fact that it is not, since the consciousness was digital and not, in fact, real. Joe begins to open up himself, and we're shown a flashback of he and his fiancée, Beth. As Joe kisses Beth outside of her parents' house, he does bring up that he indeed feels like her dad does not approve of the two at all. We then are shown some events where they appear to be double dating with some colleagues from her work at a bar, Tim and Greta. We're then shown another very uncomfortable dinner party with the four of them, where Greta explains how her and Tim were set up by Beth. While cleaning up, Joe finds a pregnancy test in the garbage and confronts Beth about it. She admits to being pregnant but insists on getting an abortion despite Joe's persistence to keep the baby. They argue, and Beth blocks Joe using the Z implants we were introduced to earlier. Joe is awakened the next morning to Beth leaving him with no real talk or explanation. After a week of no explanation, he runs into Tim and Greta at her work and is told she put in her notice at the office and simply left. Joe explains that the block affects every image or memory of the other person as well. Months later, Joe confronts her still pregnant gray silhouette and ends up being arrested. He explained that the block then had legal backing, and the block has a GPS, so if he goes within 10 meters of her, he gets arrested yet again.
Props to John Hamm as Matt. I kind of mentioned this earlier, but up to this point, not a lot has happened, but he's got a charm and charisma that's kept me invested in the episode. The technology usage in not only this episode, but from all the ones I've seen is mind-blowing. I'm sure Brian will agree with me. I hope to God our real world does not become this. It's a horrifying thought that someone can just fast-forward your life at any moment. And Potter must have some demons we don't know about. Man went from shy and quiet to knocking down this wine really quick. Sheesh. Matt is playing Potter like a fiddle right now. What does Potter mean he's not a good man? I'm going to compliment the color and the set again. This is the whitest snow I've ever seen. It looks and it feels just like winter, so props to them. I'm sure that's not the hardest setting to pull off, but I thought it stood out. This situation just got awkward. I couldn't imagine being in this situation. Calling your wife a bitch in this moment is not the move, brother. An abortion between a couple is something I've never been a part of. I couldn't imagine the feelings that go along, and it's a very sensitive subject, and I don't think calling your wife a bitch is the best call. I'd be broken if I was Potter. My fiance blocks me and then just drives off. Whew. It's wild to think of technology so advanced when you're blocked, you can't even see the other person in pictures you've taken. That's interesting. And how awkward would it be seeing couples argue in public that are blocked? I think that'd be some good people watching. This has been kind of a slow burn so far, but I'm intrigued and still hopeful for a big bang at the end.
You got a theory about it?
Oh,
Big Bang
hey-o.
Theory? Hey.
That's a good show.
So, okay.
It's overhated show.
Oh, I love that show.
I was
it catches
pretty
a lot of hate
neutral on
online.
it.
Does it?
I was pretty neutral to it, but Penny could definitely call me sometime. But okay, so things are getting a little weird now, turning people into Google Nest. That's wild. And they got the remote from Click working in this. So okay, got it. I finally do get my first tense feeling of the episode when Matt asks Joe about his backstory, and he says her dad never liked him. Honestly, I'm so thrown off by their dynamic and situation. It's really hindered the episode. Like, I'm struggling to care, for a lack of a better word. But getting his backstory after we've seen so much of Matt should help. Hopefully it brings it all together. And then, so Joe was blocked too. Is this like The Lobster, where if you're not in a relationship, you get sent to a facility? Like, is that why these two fellas are roommates? That's the thoughts that ran through my mind. Have you neither of you have seen The Lobster, have you? Oh, well. That's an interesting movie. But, I don't know, man. I'm kind of hoping this episode has a strong finish because, yeah, we'll see. I don't know. I was unsold.
Well, here's that finish. Pouring another drink, Joe explains to Matt that he, at this point, didn't know if it was a boy or a girl or if the baby was even okay. But he did know where her dad lives, so he started writing letters to no prevail. He explained he knew that she spent every Christmas at her dad's, so the day before every Christmas Eve, he would drive there and wait all day until Beth showed with the baby, who also inherited the legal block, he finds out. Which, God, that's a killer. It became an annual pilgrimage where he would just essentially travel there every Christmas and watch the kid grow up, just a blurred gray emptiness. One year, he delivered a gift in secret and tells Matt he could tell she was a girl at that point. A few months later, Joe sees an unblurred Bethany Gray's picture on a newscast, finding out that she had died in a train accident. Realizing that the block was now gone, he could finally see his daughter. He wraps a snow globe as a gift and travels to Beth's dad's house once again and finally sees his daughter playing in the yard. He quickly realizes she's not his biological daughter. In fact, a product of an affair with her coworker, Tim, that they had gone so many double dates with. After a verbal, emotional conflict with Beth's father, Joe loses his temper and bludgeons him to death with a snow globe and flees the cabin, leaving the girl by herself to, as we find out, wander in the snow wilderness and freeze to death. While Joe tells a story to Matt, the cabin gradually transforms into Beth's father's house. It is revealed that Joe and Matt are in an egg, where the 5 years was resulted from an altered perception of time, and Joe is in fact a cookie that has just given a testimony which will be used to convict the real Joe. For his service, Matt avoids imprisonment for his role in Harry's death, but he is now registered as a sex offender and permanently blocked by everyone. Meanwhile, back at the police station and leaving for the weekend, an officer sets Joe's cookie to experience time at 1,000 years per minute with Dustin's favorite song, I Wish It Could Be Christmas Every Day, which played as Joe killed Beth's father on repeat. Essentially, as we learned earlier from Matt's breaking of Greta, would drive Joe into insanity.
You gotta quit this shit.
I'm sorry, I got it mixed up. I thought you loved Christmas. My bad.
No, I do love Christmas. I hate Christmas music.
Christmas music, I mean.
Yeah. That's fair. It's got to be gut-wrenching not to be able to see your child, even when you can see your child. I know that kind of doesn't make sense, but if you watch the show, you know what I mean. Finding out your ex-fiance dies via the news, that has to be gut-wrenching as well. My man Potter is going through it. My goodness. But holy shit, will to reveal it's not his kid. She's one of my skin folk. Hell yeah. Potter loses his cool and snaps on Beth's dad, bludgeoning him with a snow globe. I know you're frustrated with everything, brother, but this should not have happened. And oh shit, Potter done fucked up again. Matt must be using some type of technology to get Potter to confess this story. And turns out he was. My heart breaks for this little girl freezing to death. That was really sad. And there it is, the confession. Congratulations. You played yourself, Potter. Matt, he continues to be a menace. This man just manipulated time, technology, human consciousness, and everything to get a murder confession. I must reiterate, I hope technology does not become this advanced in our lifetime.
Same.
And I got to ask Matt, is life worth living if you're blocked by everyone? Because by this movie or this episode's rules, that means you can't even watch TV or movies, right? To me, that sounds miserable. Yeah. How does this work? 1,000 years a minute. Does that mean he dies in a minute? I don't know. And Dustin, you'll get this reference. I feel like I'm watching Cuckoo all over again with Potter breaking this radio over and over again. And I got to admit, I love the ending with it zooming out of the snow globe repeatedly. I thought that was really good.
Well, no, it's a digital cookie. It's a digital clone, so he will never die. From what I understand, he'll break and go just nutso and crazy after a while.
Okay, crazy turn of events here. Joe's not the dad. Nico is. Wow.
Oh, Jesus. Oh.
Okay, but seriously, talk about a gut punch. Like, you thought your old lady was pregnant with your kid. She blocks you. You obsess about it. Then years later, you find out the kid wasn't his. That's like Kanye West. 18 years. But anyway, sheesh, that's a cold world. And then Buddy kills the granddad. That's a tough look. Like, he didn't deserve that shit. Big O shit moment when he says it was that clock. Finally, some intrigue with the episode an hour in. Like I'm finally invested now. And then the lighting change, like the realization of what's going on, the snow globe being set on the counter. Bravo. Like it really saved the episode with this twist here at the end. The sex offender block list, that would be a great thing to have in real life, like completely ostracize and neutralize them. I don't know if Matt deserved to be on it, though.
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
that's
what
a
did
bit
he do
extreme.
for that? I agree.
And then, yeah, like you asked, Nico, if I'm him, I'd probably kill myself. Like, that seems like a miserable life. And then, I don't know, man. I didn't love this episode. The best thing about it is that it's an anthology, so literally every episode has a chance to redemption since they're all completely different. Yeah.
So I've got some fun facts, some trivia. You guys have any?
I don't.
All right. Let me go through a few here, and then I guess we'll go through each other's breakdown or just score, really, I guess, for the episode, if you want to do that. All right. When Joe's flipping through channels on the television, the first program is the talent competition show Hot Shot, and that's from the Black Mirror episode 15 Million Merits, which is on our list to review in 2 more weeks, as well as the song that Beth sings at karaoke, the same one that Abi Khan sings in that same episode. The first guess Joe makes about Matt's occupation is a marketing person. Dustin kind of mentioned that. It's a reference to John Hamm's character in Mad Men, who works at the advertising agency. The Z Eyes is very similar technology that's used in the episode The Entire History of You. Oh, man, that's a fucked up episode, which we will be reviewing next week. A white bear logo is seen on Joe's cell plate. And when Joe sees Bethany's photo on the news, there's a mention in the news crawl along the bottom of the screen that Victoria Spillane's appeal was rejected. These are also all, again, references to the episode White Bear, which we are also reviewing in 3 weeks. The highest rated episode of Black Mirror as of 2024 is this episode. And to kind of answer your question a little bit, Nico, at 1,000 years a minute, Potter will have been in the cabin for 1,440,000 years if left there for 1 day in the real world. This means he would have listened to the song I Wish It Could Be Christmas every day 154 billion plus times.
So if you're in the simulation or whatever you call it, can you kill yourself in there? Because I would have.
It doesn't seem that you can. It seems like they're just basically digital clones or copies. So it would be like a video game character. You'd have to, I guess, wipe out their code or to get rid of them for them to actually die.
So then if they ever let me out, I don't even know if that was addressed, if that's a possibility. If they ever reunite my soul with my body, I'm killing everyone in the room and myself included, because fuck that.
Yeah, it's crazy. All right. Well, I guess go ahead, Nico. Let's go ahead and let's hear your thoughts and kind of your summary and score on this episode.
Yeah, I actually will tease it right now. If you look at the 2 episodes on IMDb, the Internet Movie Database, as we call it on this show, this episode has a 9.1, I believe you said, and the other one has a 7.4. I'm going to flip these scores. I give this episode, I'm going to go closer to 7 than the 7.5, just because the episode is kind of slow to me. I've only seen it once, so if I ever watch it again, I can, pick up on stuff a little easier, not taking notes. But it's just a little slow to me. In the middle part with Greta, I don't know, it kind of loses me a little bit, but I did like the twist ending.
So, like I said, to me, they spent way too much time with the backstories and subplots, and then they rushed into what was actually going on. The premise is very interesting, but I think it would work much better as a full-length feature film. I struggled to really care what was going on. I gave this one a 6.
Well, I did say that it was the highest rated episode of Black Mirror. It's not my favorite, and I wouldn't say that I loved or even enjoyed this one a ton, but it definitely hit different with me. My claustrophobia is what I really found it like playing into, just the thought of being trapped in that egg. I don't know. It's just for some reason that really stuck with me. And, I liked the 3 separate stories kind of coming together, which does make this one a little more unique than the other episodes. And I actually gave it a 7.75.
Okay. So that gives us as a composite a 6.91666667. So a little bit lower than the Internet Movie Database.
Hey, just round up there, brother. We don't need to say all them 6s in a row.
I said more than 3, but less than 6, so I think we're good.